Now let's talk to Tim Kennedy. Always an interesting guy to speak to. There he is. Tim Kennedy himself via the magic of Skype. Tim, how are you, my friend?
I am so well.
So, lots to discuss as always. Last time you were on this show around 2.5 months ago. By the way, I mean, look at this partnership here. We went from hating each other, at least you hated me. Now you're like a regular. I can't get rid of you on this show. Isn't it beautiful?
I know. I don't think people really grasp like how caustic the relationship between you and I were. I might have threatened you a few times, like maybe passively, like, I might kill you later or something like that. I don't remember the exact words, but I think it was that ballpark of that. And now, honestly, like I follow you on Twitter. I follow you everywhere that you go. You're definitely the guy I respect the most in MMA. You and Ben Fowlkes.
Wow. Please don't say Ben's name on this show ever again, if you can. But it is great. And for the record, it was a one-way street. You hated me. I never disliked you. I always had love.
Oh, thank you. Now I feel super bad.
So last time you were on, we touched on this a little bit, but I did promise that we'd have you on before the premiere. You have this show coming out on November 10th on the History Channel called Hunting Hitler. And this fascinates me. This subject is obviously one that's near and dear to my heart. I actually had a chance to go to Auschwitz and many of the concentration camps in Poland. I am a proud Jew, learned all about the Holocaust in high school and whatnot. So the topic of World War II and Hitler and all this stuff is fascinating to me. But now it's finally coming out, November 10th. I would just like to know, how does, by the way, what's that book right over there in back? Does it say, O Jerusalem? No, that says, O Jeru. What does it say right there?
Oh, we got, O Jerusalem.
Oh, it is O Jerusalem. Look at you. Are you a closet Jew? Israel.
That's true. Israel.
Wow. Who knew?
Gray Wolf.
Look at you. Is this a topic that always, were you always interested in this?
No, so I went to Israel, when I was in the military and went to a military school there. And as you know, it's a very closed society. And they're not really very receiving to non-Israelis and non-Jews. So being an American, I think they kind of view us as a whole, like not as the most supportive in the past few years. So I really wanted to do my due diligence and not be ignorant about the history of some of the conflicts, to include, obviously Palestine and the PLO and some of the people that they've been in such a tough position with for the past few years. So I did as much research as I could before I went over there, and I still was able to put my foot in my mouth and look like a complete idiot. But I tried to do the best I could to minimize that.
How long ago was this?
A couple of years.
Okay. So Hunting Hitler, how did you get chosen to do this?
Oh, man. So the History Channel was looking for a lead investigator, a field guy. So the show is going to have the kind of the talking heads, the researchers that are in the office, that are looking at all the data that me and my team accumulate in all of the different locations that we visit. And then that they are kind of directing where the investigation goes. I am the field guy. So everywhere that this investigation leads, I put together a team, and we go, from Argentina to Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil, Colombia, Canary Islands, Spain, obviously Germany, a whole bunch. And they needed a guy with a kind of a certain skill set. I knew just enough in all of the wrong areas that made me the perfect candidate.
What do you mean by that?
It's kind of tragic when your skill set is, to hunt humans, but
I got you.
That's what I'm. Yeah, it's a sad thing to say, but the majority of my adult life, everybody knows me as an MMA fighter, but the vast majority of the time that I have been an adult, I have been in an occupation where I'm looking for bad people. There's a lot of technology that goes into that, software, being able to do demographic and society searches using all the different social medias. And then there's hardware like ground penetrating radar and drones, all of which I'm very intimately familiar with. I've been to all the schools. I can fly drones. I can use ground penetrating radar. I have the contacts for everybody in the world that has the best equipment. So, if we reached a problem and we're like, okay, we can't get access to this property, I can say, well, I can fly a drone over it, or, hey, we think there's something underneath this. I'm like, well, go, send me a ground penetrating radar and I'll tell you what's there. So I ended up being the right guy with the right skill set to do this. The other tragic part is, in the military, I was part of the task force that found the number 2 guy on the terrorist hit list, which was Zarqawi. I was part of that task force. Being in special forces, every cave we went into and every dude that we found, we say, hey, do you have any Americans? Are you planning any attacks on Americans? Do you have any civilians in captivity? Do you know where bin Laden is? Those are the questions that we asked everybody. So for 10 years, like in Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iraq, everybody I talked to, those questions came out. So I'm kind of good at this.
Wow. And
Yeah.
did you have to audition, or were you the guy?
I think they thought I was the guy before they talked to me.
Okay.
There's a lot out there for people to find out about me and what I've done. And but they still made me go through the different phases of interviewing, talking to the production company, talking to the History Channel. But they, having now looking back and talking to the people at the History Channel, they knew ahead of time, you were the guy that we wanted. It was just being able to make sure that it worked. And it worked.
And why, and maybe this is not a question that you can properly answer, but why is the History Channel hunting for Hitler in, quote unquote, in 2015?
Yeah. So just last year, they released almost 1,000 declassified documents from the FBI, from the CIA, from the OSS. And, there's a lot of weird information in all of these documents. But one thing was clear. The FBI and the CIA, after 1945, were actively looking for Hitler. There's, whether they found legitimate information, if they found credible information, doesn't matter. We know that they were spending a crap ton of money, especially in South America, looking for Hitler. And now you have to say why.
Yeah.
If the narrative has been that Hitler died in 1945, the Germans, he executed himself committed suicide with his wife, and then the Germans burnt his body, and the Russians took the body back to Russia. That's what I've been told my entire life. That's what I believed. Then this doesn't make sense. Why would we spend, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars looking for this guy if he died in 1945? Then you start looking at the forensic evidence of what occurred in 1945, and there's nothing that says that he actually died. There's no body. The body that they have is a woman. They just did genetic testing on it last year. And now this is where we get into conspiracy theorists. We're like, okay, well, what happened? I don't care. What they hired me to do was to see if it was possible, if he made it out of the bunker, where would he have gone?
What? This is incredible.
Yeah. And I'm that guy. I go and look at every single possibility. I look at the trains, I look at the planes, I look at the submarines, I look at the boats, I look at the infrastructure of the church that was hiding other Nazis. I went and found Nazis and figured out how they got out. And then I wanted to see, okay, well, if this guy did it and he's a pathetic colonel or a major, then the Fuhrer, they would have had a plan for him. Guys like Martin Bormann would never have let a guy like the Fuhrer die in a bunker. It just doesn't make sense. If you look at our president, how many different ways do we have a plan to get that guy out? Countless. And all of them are airtight. I personally know them.
Yeah.
So there's no way that we're talking, the leader of what was going to be the Third Reich, all controlling all of Europe, the most powerful man and one of the richest. And when I say richest, not he had millions of dollars. I mean, he had money that he could buy countries.
Yeah.
Gold that he's took from the Jews, and gold that he melted from the Jews, and the money, and the finances that he took from all the countries that he conquered, and then he just dies in a bunker. Well, so I went and found out if it was possible.
How many months or weeks did you have on this job?
6 months.
6 months. Wow, it was that long. You were traveling for the entire 6 months, or you did some work back in the States?
A ton of research.
Okay.
The files are intelligence files are a horrible thing to work with, especially intelligence files from 1945.
Yeah.
When I get intelligence files now, there's a format. It's clear. You have kind of like the 5 Ws that you can input into systems: the who, the where, the when, the why, the how. In 1945, it was kind of just like these guys talking. and you'd have to sift through those reports to extrapolate the information that you needed. So there's a ton of research. Fortunately, the History Channel is big. History Channel has big money, and I'm a pretty dumb guy, so they could hire guys that were way smarter than me, with amazing credentials, the PhDs, the archaeologists, the marine archaeologists, and put together a unique team, a team that has never been assembled before to do something like this.
So this is not some reality show stunt. This is real. This is a real deal. This is an investigation trying to get the answers to these questions.
Yeah. The field guys, we had the movie Syriana with George Clooney.
Oh yeah.
That movie was made after a guy named Bob Baer. He was former CIA. That guy's on our team.
Wow.
The leading U.S. Marshal that has hunted more fugitives than anyone on the planet, he was on our team. The death claims investigator, and this was a unique perspective. So if somebody dies, they send a death claims investigator to go and prove that the guy is dead before they can award the insurance policy. We had the most expensive and the most experienced death claims investigator, a private investigator, on our team. We had kind of the most known historian in all Hitler lore as part of our team. I mean, this team was so comprehensive that it would be difficult for us not to have a stone that we don't overturn.
In total, how many people are on the team?
So everywhere that I would say the core of the team is 5 guys.
Okay.
But we brought in, they just recently discovered this hidden bunker in kind of the tri-border area in where the most northern Argentina. And in that, it's a Nazi hideout.
Oh.
I think that's what they know. They found Nazi gold there. They found Nazi coins there. They found radio parts. They found that it was completely self-sufficient. It had its own power. It had its own water, and it had its own food supply. It had its own medicine. And when the archaeologists came across it, they thought it was a mission that had just been left in the jungle, for a few hundred years. But then they started finding like canned goods from the late 40s or the mid 40s. And they're like, what the hell is this? And they started finding Nazi memorabilia. And so when we found that, we bring in coin experts, coin archaeologists. We bring in a whole bunch of social experts that could really look at the demographics and the socioeconomic classes in the area there. We brought in anthropologists. We brought in, when we're off the coast of Argentina, we're looking for evidence of something particular. We brought in a bunch of marine biologists, side sonar guys, magnetometer technicians, really the best dudes on the planet. So everywhere that we went, if we came to a problem or we needed the best, there's not, no expense that was too much to bring in the best in the world.
So you weren't. So I was under the impression that you were looking for, Nazis who were still alive and war criminals. You're actually the point of this show is to find out if he actually killed himself in 1945 or if he went on to live elsewhere. Is that the purpose of this whole thing?
I think the end result is to correct the narrative that has been historical. To say, okay, if he died in the bunker, then all the history books, that's exactly what it says, that Hitler died in the bunker in 1945 when he committed suicide with Eva Braun. That's not true. We can't absolutely say that. There's no way that we can say. So they could just add one word, if, or it's possible, but we know that there's no way to prove that. And as the show progresses, and things become so astoundingly clear, we changed history. To answer, specifically your question, yes, I think the end result is to be able to maybe rewrite history. But if you're gonna try to find the mother ant that rules the colony, you have to follow the other ants.
Yeah.
And so we went to the Nazis. We went to the places where we knew Nazis had escaped. We went and tracked Nazis to make sure that they could have made it the route that we were speculating that they were going to try. So we theorized this. I had my hypothesis here, and to prove that, I had to go and find guys that did just what I was saying that they were doing. And that's what we did. So I found Nazi after Nazi.
Wow.
I found grandkids, sitting there bragging to me that their grandfather got back in 1946. And as this grandson has an SS tattoo on his neck with an iron cross on his shoulder.
Oh.
It's just it's real.
Wow. I'm super tempted to ask you what you're finding. Like, what's the end result? But I guess I have to watch the show, right?
There's 8 episodes. 8 episodes.
8 episodes.
You have 8 episodes. Sorry.
So November 10th on History. At what time?
See, 10 your time or Eastern and 9 Central.
Okay. Wow. I cannot wait for this. I'm going to DVR this bad boy. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Yeah, of course. Amazing stuff. Cannot wait for it. So I guess I should. I know you have a lot of fans out there. I guess I should ask you: are you going to fight again? What's going on?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
I think. Yeah.
What's going on? What do you got?
Big change in 2.5 months. 2.5 months ago, I was saying, man, they have to give me something cool. They have to give me something significant, and now I'm hearing inklings from UFC that I might get the winner of Vitor Belfort, Dan Henderson.
Oh.
I saw, Michael Bisping was saying he never wanted to fight a PED user again. That has been permanently disfigured, and I would be furious if I was Michael Bisping. But I'm the opposite. I want to go fight every single one of them and beat the brakes off of them. And kind of put a big exclamation mark that this is a new era of the sport, that the clean athletes, we're going to smash every single one of you cheaters that have been historically making all the big money and cheating your way through it. Anderson Silva's, Vitor Belfort's, Dan Henderson's, I want you guys.
So have they told you specifically you're getting the winner of this fight on Saturday or something else? What have they told you?
So they're talking my agent,
yep.
and that those were the fights that I had said that I wanted, and he came back and said that they were interested in those fights.
Oh, wow! Do you have a perfect scenario, a perfect guy? Like, are you hoping Vitor wins on Saturday so you can get him finally?
Yes, yeah. Anderson Silva, New Year's Eve. I don't even know if he's off his suspension.
No, he won't be.
That would be amazing.
He won't be.
No, he won't?
No, January 31st.
All right, January 31st. So we could fight on Valentine's Day in February.
Or the February 2nd card, but I feel like that would be a little too soon. They wouldn't book him that close to the suspension.
No. I said I'd fight Fedor on like a moment's notice. That would be pretty awesome.
But does he fall in that PED group for you?
No, but he's just like a legend.
Yeah.
And I would just love that, man.
But the good news is you're back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even when I was, filming this TV show, we're in Brazil, we're in Colombia, we're in Argentina. JITS is huge there.
Yeah.
I was able to go to, Gracie Humaita, like the headquarters. I'm a black belt from there, so I was able to train when I was there. And Nazis have a huge obsession with fighting, and it goes back to their origin, the genesis of where Nazism came. When they're the fascists and the social movements, they'd go and they'd beat the brakes off of everybody that was attending there. So you had to kind of be a tough guy in the beginning to be a Nazi, and that stayed true with the culture. So I would go to different fight clubs all over South America and try to glean information from conversations. As I'm grappling with a guy and I look and I see the Iron Cross tattooed on his arm, I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, what are you doing here? Yeah. You're really good. Yeah, I like this sport. Let's can I buy you a drink? Tell me about your grandpa, please.
Yeah, and they didn't know that you were doing this for the show. Oh, did we lose him?
Oh, I got you. You're back.
Did they have any idea you were working on the show? Did you have to tell them?
No. I had I lied about everything.
Okay.
I put a hidden camera in my gym bag with a microphone.
Wow.
And I just say I'm a UFC fighter. Because they didn't know who I was, and I'm just traveling South America on a break from MMA. They're like, oh yeah, we saw your last fight, against blah 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 blah. I would take a break too, and I was like, man, I'm just trying to find the roots. So you're trying to get back to the central core of fighting. What do you think? You're like, what do you do? And then they start talking, and then I own them.
Oh, this is great. Well, this is very exciting stuff. The show, and also that you're sort of kind of retired. It wasn't a retirement, but your break is coming to an end. At least that's what it sounds like. So that's very exciting. So it's November 10th, History Channel, Hunting Hitler. As Tim said, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. I will be watching this. I can't wait for it. I'm happy that an MMA guy is involved. This is very exciting. This is right up my alley. Thank you very much for breaking it all down, giving us the preview, and perhaps we'll talk about it 8 weeks later when we get to see what you found out.
As always, I'm at your disposal.
Thank you.
Super love your show, and just thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. All the best. There he is, Tim Kennedy. Check out his show on November 10th.